Hello, everyone, and welcome to Keswick Chapel The Chew. I'm Pastor Robert. Today is day 4 of week 6. As we continue our journey together, I encourage you to grab your Bible and a pen and paper so you can look up some references that I will give you and take some notes. We're looking at everyone this week, and we are looking at John 4, verses 4 through 42 is our foundational passage. If you have not read this in full, I encourage you to do so. There's great material here for us to chew on together. Today we're going to be looking at Jesus has demonstrated how we are to live incarnationally. So we're going to be looking at this passage, and we're going to be looking at some other verses. So I encourage you to follow along with me. So what do we mean to live incarnationally? Well, to live out Jesus, to live the way Jesus did is what we're talking about. So we have three specific things that we can observe in this passage that Jesus did or didn't do, and we are to follow his lead. So what's the first thing? Well, the first thing that we notice is that Jesus did not judge the Samaritan woman at the well, nor did he judge the Samaritan people. You'll recall, instead of judging her, he just had a conversation with her. Then he pointed out the way she had lived and the way she was living in love. And this so impressed her that she immediately went and told everybody in town about Jesus and said, hey, I think this guy is the Messiah. So we see that by not judging her, she actually was drawn to the Father's love. And then so there's another passage that we can talk about, and that's in Matthew chapter 7, verses 1 and 2. And in this passage, Jesus says, plain and simple, do not judge, for the way that we judge and the measure by which we judge will be the way we're judged. So Jesus says, don't judge. He didn't judge this woman in Samaria, nor any of the Samaritan people. Remember, we talked about earlier this week how the Jews and the Samaritan people did not get along for a number of cultural reasons, but Jesus set the cultural differences aside so that he could become involved in their lives and he could share the love of God with them. So that's point number one. Jesus did not judge. Point number two, Jesus did not exclude anyone. He didn't exclude anyone in town there, right? The Samaritan people came out to him and he spoke with them. And many of them chose to believe Jesus first because of the woman's testimony and then because of what Jesus said. So Jesus did not exclude anybody from the conversation. Another place where we can see this is in Matthew chapter 25, verses 34 through verse 40. And in this passage, Jesus is he's talking about the judgment day and how he will welcome those in who did what Jesus instructed them to do and did what Jesus did. And he used some very clear examples. When I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was hungry, you gave me food. When I needed clothes, you gave me clothes. When I was in prison, you came and visited me in prison. Or when I was sick, you took care of me. And they will say, when did we do those things for you, Lord? And he said, when you did them to the least of these, you did them unto me. So how we are to include people in our lives. This is what Jesus did, and this is what we're expected to do. Then thirdly, Jesus did not condemn the Samaritan woman. I talked about that before. First, he didn't judge her, then he didn't condemn her. And then there's one other passage where he doesn't condemn. You may recall in John chapter 8, verses 10 and 11, and you'll want to back up a few verses prior to that. This woman had been caught in adultery by the religious leaders, and they came dragging her in, demanding that she be stoned to death. And Jesus just kind of wrote on the ground, and then he asked this question. He said, whoever is without sin, cast the first stone. And he just kept drawing on the ground, and he looked up, and everybody was gone. And he asked this woman, he said, where are those who condemn you? She said, there aren't any. And he said, then go and sin no more. So he basically did not condemn her, and he just told her, leave your life of sin. Go live right. And so again, Jesus doesn't give us examples of judgment or exclusion or condemnation. Jesus gives us examples of how to live free of judgment, free of exclusion, and free of condemnation. This is how we're supposed to live, my friends. So I pray that you will dig into this word, that you will go back and read this passage again in full for yourself. John chapter 4, verses 4 through 42. And then these other references that I've given you for today. Matthew 7, 1 and 2. Matthew 25, verses 34 through 40. And then John chapter 8, verses 10 and 11. I pray that you'll have a blessed day. Go in the peace of God, my friends. Blessings to you. Bye for now.